And welcome to The Verdict. Hello, everybody, and good morning. I'm Mick Cornett, along with Kent Myers. We're here every week, meeting interesting people and dealing with topical issues. And today we're going to discuss the Oklahoma Secondary Schools Activities Association.
Yes, I'm so glad you said that instead of asking me what OSSAA meant. I would have to look and see, but we are. We hear a lot about it in our daily lives, lots of kids in high school participating in all kinds of activities. And the board that kind of looks at the association that kind of looks over those activities and decides how they ought to be administered is the OSSAA, and we're really pleased to have Ed join us today.
They're helping out in every small town in Oklahoma and really in every neighborhood in the larger cities. I mean, they're involved.
Well, and they're not simply deciding who's eligible and who's not, or what the rules are. They're doing some positive things that other similar associations in other states have not yet been quick enough to start. So we get more bang for our buck with the OSSAA than other states do.
We will learn more about the Oklahoma Secondary Schools Activities Association and all they do today on The Verdict.
A doctorate in American Indian Studies and Comparative Cultural and Literary Studies. I focus on Native American arts and especially representations of American Indians. My name is Tracy Morris, and I am an educator, a scholar, and a business owner, and I am Chickasaw. I'm extremely interested in how Natives have been represented in the media and how we represent ourselves in the media. We have a unique opportunity right now with broadband and with new media. It's an open playing field. I do believe that it gives us a power to represent ourselves and a power to change our own destiny. Anybody with a cell phone, with a good phone, and an idea and a computer can go out and make a movie. For the first time, we can represent ourselves. We can tell our own stories, and to be seen for who we are now, not the victims of the past, I think is tremendously exciting. That's where my work lies.
Hello and welcome back to The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers, and Kent's going to introduce today's guest.
Today we're really pleased to welcome to the set of The Verdict Ed Sheakley, the Executive Director of the OSSAA here in Oklahoma. He did his undergraduate work at Northern Iowa University, where he was a collegiate wrestler. We lured him with our wonderful weather down to Oklahoma from Iowa many years ago, and he spent a number of years as a teacher and a coach at Medill, at Blackwell, and perhaps other locations. He's been with the OSSAA for 22 years now. In the last 5 years, he has been the executive director, but this is his first appearance on The Verdict. Ed, welcome.
Well, Kent and Mick, thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here, and always a pleasure to get an opportunity to talk about the OSSAA.
Yeah, well, let's don't assume that people actually know what it all means. We can say it's the Oklahoma Secondary Schools Activities Association. That's a long name. What actually does the OSSAA do for us, and how would you describe the organization?
Well, it is a mouthful to say. We understand that, and so we just go, the OSSAA. But we coordinate and supervise extracurricular activities for our 481, member schools. We have three primary goals. One is that we want to ensure a fair competition and a level playing field for all our member schools. We want, number two is that we want to have a balance between academics and activities, and so we don't overemphasize athletics. And our third goal is that we want all our kids to participate. We want equitable participation for all our students to be able to participate in our activities.
Did it start off just sports?
You know, it started that way originally, and then back in the early 60s, we changed from an athletic association to an activities association. We now have music and speech. We have one-act plays. We've got band. We've got academic bowl. You know, we're very proud that we are now a activities association. We have over 140,000 students that participate on an annual basis in our activities, and throughout the course of a year, we will crown 99 state champions in 26 different activities.
Yeah, that's an important distinction because you don't have a whole lot to do with the regular season in most of the sports, just the postseason. Is that right?
Right. Most of our competition is at, you know, outside of maybe football, you know, where we have some district play and some other activities, but we get involved when it comes to the postseason. Like I said, we set up and regulate the playoffs, we set the sites, hire the officials, and do those things, you know, when it comes to the postseason.
Now, membership is voluntary by the school, is it not?
It is voluntary, you know, by our schools. We are a voluntary nonprofit organization. We have some high schools in Oklahoma that aren't members of our association. There's other associations out there. There's the Southwest Preparatory Conference that's there. There's the Oklahoma Christian Athletic Association. There is a homeschool association. There is a rural elementary school association. So we're not kind of the only game in town. There's some other associations out there that do the same thing that we do.
Now, do you penalize your members in any way or prohibit your members in any way from them playing or competing against non-member organizations?
No, we let our member schools participate against non-members. The only thing that we ask them to do is to contact those non-member schools in advance, and to make sure that those kids are playing by the same rules as what our kids are playing by when it comes to, let's say, the amateur rule or the number of years of participation or the age rule. You know, we all want to be, you know, on a level playing field, and so we ask them that they play by the same rules as what our member schools are. And homeschool students, you know, our member schools play, you know, homeschool organizations. So we do play against, you know, non-member organizations, not only in the state but outside of the state also.
In general, what consumes most of the organization's time?
Probably two things. One is that, you know, dealing with eligibility, you know, with our students as we regulate, you know, scholastic and residence, you know, eligibility, and that consumes, you know, a lot of our time. But the other thing is that there's the planning, you know, put on our state events. You know, people walk into our state basketball tournament or our state wrestling tournament and they say, oh, this is simple, you know, you just got a couple gatekeepers, and we'll spend months and months on preparing, you know, for our state events. And then, of course, also the playoff system, the time that it takes to put the playoff system, you know, into place. You know, we're very unique, you know, in Oklahoma, is that we kind of wait to the end of the regular season before we do our playoffs, and we try to go geographics when we're matching up teams, but also take into account, you know, strength, you know, of teams. We want the best teams to advance to our state tournament, you know, that we can get. So those are probably the two areas of responsibilities that consume a lot of time.
About how many different schools are members?
We have 481 member schools.
Just dispersed all across the state?
All across the state, and then with that, their middle schools and junior highs, you know, are also members. So when you look at totally, we probably have over 1,000 schools, you know, within our organization. But we primarily deal at the secondary level, at the high school level, and that's the only level in which you will have, you know, postseason championships.
Who runs the organization? I mean, I know you're the executive director, but you probably have somebody. You have a boss that you report to, or a board that you report to.
I've got several bosses that I report to, but no, we have a board of directors, and we have a 14-member board of directors. And
how are they selected?
13 out of those 14 are elected by our member schools. And if you could just kind of divide the state, you know, up into 4 quadrants. Within each quadrant, we have representation from a large school and from a middle-sized school and a small school. So equal representation throughout the school. And then our 14th board member is that's an appointed, that's an at-large. And what there we're looking at gender, we're looking at diversity, you know, for that 14th
Who makes
board
that
member.
appointment?
By the board.
The board itself.
Board itself, correct.
If it's possible to summarize, I would love to hear you summarize the eligibility issues. So a kid enters 9th grade, he's obviously going to school, he's eligible at that school, I would assume. At some point he wants to change schools. That's where it might get complicated. Can you explain what happens next?
Right. You know, our basic eligibility rule states that you are eligible in the district where your parents or where your guardians reside. If you want to change schools from that, and basically there's 2 ways to change school. I can make a move, where I make a physical move from school district A to school district B. And if he's eligible in all other respects, then he's eligible on what we call a bona fide move. The thing that gets a little bit more complicated is when we get into transfers. I live in school district A and now I want to transfer to school district B. When a student transfers, they are ineligible for varsity competition for 1 year unless they can demonstrate by a hardship waiver process that there were circumstances beyond their control that necessitated a move, to another school. And we have like 7 different criteria that we use to grant kids, eligibility immediately without having sitting out. And one of them would be like an unstable home environment where a student had to be removed from the home, by the court system or by DHS. We're going to help those kids, and they fill out a waiver process, and we can approve those kids.
Mm-hmm.
What about a situation where in school 1, where the student does not live or play, they continue to win state championships over and over again, and in school 2, where the student does live and does play, they don't ever win a game. So the student wants to play for a winning team, and his parents are so wrapped up, he or she parents are so wrapped up, they make a physical move into the district for school 1. Is that, can that justify a transfer?
Kind of in
Not a
sure
transfer,
we
change.
don't confuse a move with a transfer.
Yeah, I didn't mean to say.
And one of the things is, again, you go back to the principle of our rule is that, when you transfer that you have to sit out, 1 year. It goes back to what we talked about at the very beginning, is that we wanted to, fair competition. We want a level playing field. We want an opportunity for all our kids, to participate. So by a move, generally speaking, they'll be eligible, in all respects, and by a transfer, they have to sit out of varsity competition. So it still allows them to play JV, it still allows them to play on a 9th grade team, could be a junior high kid, participates on a junior high team. So there's still opportunities for participation.
Ed Sheakley is with the Oklahoma Secondary Schools Activities Association. We'll have more with Ed when we get back on the verdict.
It's a North American energy revolution. We're the fastest growing source of new oil and natural gas supplies in the world.
The shift to North American energy will create approximately 3 million jobs.
All that money we've been sending overseas, $400 billion a year. Imagine that staying in our economy. It's a game changer.
Real energy independence starts now, and it starts with Oklahoma.
When you have something important to communicate, it becomes clear that there's a lot of competition for your audience's attention. So how can your message stand out and actually resonate with your audience? Legal Graphics has the answers. The team at Legal Graphics will work with you to plan, design, and even test your presentation to ensure your message will be heard and remembered. Call Legal Graphics today to schedule an appointment. The readiness is all.
Welcome back to the set of the verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers and our guest Ed Sheakley with the Oklahoma Secondary Schools Activities Association. Sports fans are generally aware that we have classes for different high schools. So the larger schools are 6A and then 5A and generally on down. But they probably aren't aware of the specific breakdown, the number of schools that take up each class. Can you go through that for us? Let's start with football.
Football is that, first of all, we classify schools based by ADM, which is average daily membership, which is basically the attendance of a school. And we get those numbers from the State Department. They audit the school at the end of the year, and they give us those numbers. So we start with the largest school being Broken Arrow that probably has over 4,500 kids in it, all the way down to our smallest schools. So we number them 1 through 481. For football, we have about 350 schools that participate in our football. And as you can see there, we have 6 different classes of 11-man football, and then we have 2 classes of 8-man football. So in football, we have 8 different classifications. We group them. We try to group them according to size. That's why you see the different numbers there for the different classifications. But that's how we classify football. Football's a little bit different than maybe some of our activities because they play in district, and then however they come out of district play, the top 4 out of the districts advance onto our playoff system.
And of course, the the issue is, you mentioned Broken Arrow, the largest school with 4,500, and if you're the 32nd largest school, about how many students do you have?
You're probably around 1,300.
Yeah, so you have a school with 1,300 having to compete against a school with 4,500. There's really no way around that, but if someone said that's not really fair, you could say, well, yeah, it's probably not.
You know, that's one of the things, you know, for football, and that's been, you know, talked about for a long, long time now, is that disparity, and that's probably the largest disparity that we have, you know, in our 6A classification, that number. And so that's been talked about for the last several years or many, many years. And we have gone through a process of going out to our membership, talking about it, and talking to various groups. And so beginning with the 2014 school year is that we're going to divide Class 6A into two divisions. We're going to have Division 1, which is going to be the top 16 schools, and then Division 2 is going to be schools number 17 through 32 to try to help with that disparity, you know, that we have. And of course with football is that, you know, it's a numbers game, you know, and obviously our more popular school have an opportunity to have more kids come out, and you'll see our larger schools with over 100 kids out, you know, that could easily field, you know, 2 football teams, as to opposed to some of our schools in Division 2. So that is a change that is on the horizon, but it does go into effect in 2014, is that we will have a Division 1 and a Division 2 within Class 6A and a championship for both of those divisions.
Do you also deal with the officiating and hire the officials for all these games?
We do hire the officials for all our activities. It's very challenging when we get to some of our activities like our basketball playoffs, where we have over 1,000 games, you know, during our playoff system. So Mike Whaley, who is our director of official, has a huge, you know, task in front of him, and we get input, you know, from our membership. We have we allow our coaches to submit, you know, a coaches list of officials that they want, you know, for the play-on. So we do get input for our membership when it comes to assigning officials, you know, for our playoff events.
Now, I assume you have more schools playing basketball. We have a chart that shows the breakdown by class of basketball schools, and there's more teams.
There's, you know, basketball, like I said, we have about 481 member schools, and probably almost all of those participate. Maybe a couple, you know, don't, or we have a co-op, you know, between a couple of schools. But so we're looking at 480 boys teams, 480 girls teams. As you can see, we have 7, you know, classifications, you know, in basketball. They play a regular season schedule, and then when it gets to the postseason, you know, we put them in districts. Again, it's grouped, you know, according to size. You know, when it comes to our district pairings, you know, our playoff pairings, we're looking at keeping schools geographically, you know, close to one another in our playoff, but also we want to try to separate some strengths if we possibly can, and again, try to get the best teams to the state tournament, you know, that we possibly can.
Yeah. How large of a staff do you have to keep track of all this?
I've got 6 assistants on staff. We've got a total office of 15 with our support personnel. So every staff member has about 4 activities that they are responsible. So they are very busy.
Well, it sounds like it's a pretty lean organization to be able to handle you know, the nearly 1,000 schools that you've got under your jurisdiction.
Well, so far we've talked about basketball and football, but you mentioned in the first segment that you are involved in more than that, speech, drama, music. Do you have folks on staff that deal with those kinds of activities?
We have a staff member, Mike Plunkett, he's kind of what we call our fine arts person, and Mike deals with the music, the speech, the one-act play. We have another staff member that oversees academic bowls. So, as I said, all of our staff members have areas of responsibility, and it's kind of seasonal. Most of them just have one activity during the season, but they possibly could have 2, you know, a fall, a winter, and then a spring season.
Does the state legislature ever get involved in what you guys do?
You know, it seems like, you know, the last couple of years we've had some criticism, you know, from our state legislators, and that we understand that we make decisions, and sometimes decisions that aren't popular, you know, when it comes to eligibility, when it comes to playoff pairings. And so there is a interim study that has been approved, you know, regarding the OSSAA. We wanted to participate in that, give an opportunity, you know, to answer any questions that they might have regarding the OSSAA. We feel that we've got a very good organization. We've been around, you know, for over 100 years. Our rules are made up by our member schools. You know, being around for 100 years, we're constantly changing our rules. We have opportunities. We go around, we do 11 area meetings in the fall where we talk about rule changes and proposals. We have a Constitution and Review Committee that by the Constitution meets once every 5 years, and we've just finished that review, who reviews our rules, and we sent out several rule changes to our membership vote. 20 member schools can submit a petition to our board, you know, for a rule change. And of course, we have every one of our activities, we have a coaches advisory group that meets after that activity is over with and makes suggestions for rule changes. So we've got a great, what we feel is a great process. You know, our board oversees a financial responsibility. We've got methods in place for rules. We've got a playoff system that's very unique, you know, compared to other states. I mean, some states go strictly geographic, and they can draw up their playoff system before the year even happens. So, we're very pleased with our organization and the processes that are involved.
Even though there's an interim study getting ready to begin sometime fairly soon, I want to emphasize you're not a state agency. You're a private voluntary agency.
We are a private voluntary, you know, organization. We feel like that we're very visible. You know, we're one of the things we get complaints, you know, about is the open meetings, you know, the Open Records Act. You know, our board meetings are open, you know, to the public. We post our agenda on our website, you know, 48 hours in advance. We honor open records requests. Now, I say that with the exception that, you know, if a family has submitted confidential, you know, information, you know, we're going to respect that. We're not going to release that, you know, to anybody. But we basically comply in the most part, you know, with open records and with the open meeting.
Can you talk to us about the Win-Win program?
Win-Win is a program that we're very excited that we're in our 4th year of Win-Win, and we designate a week in September that that we have partnered with the OSSAA and the Peggy and Charles Cancer Research Center, and as you can see up on your graph there is that, you know, it's an opportunity for our students to do a service program. You know, this is something entirely different, you know, and here's a chance to promote cancer awareness, to do fundraising projects and natures and programs of that nature. And each year we honor a single school in our 7 different categories that we have, you know, for Win-Win Week. We have a trophy presentation. As you can see, the 3 Heisman Trophy winners presented for us last year at our state football championship. Over the last 3 years.
They're going to do it again.
They're going to do it again. We're excited about their coming back. Over the last 3 years for the center, we have raised over $300,000 for cancer research. We have 145 member schools have participated in that, and like I said, it's a program that continues to grow and grow. And this week, our Win-Win Week is September 16th through the 20th. So it's been a great.
So it's right on top of it.
We're a month away.
Well, Peggy and Charles Stevenson have done a lot. For cancer awareness.
Exactly, and it's like I said, we are so glad to be able to partner with them. And like I said, it's a great opportunity for our students to do a community service project. And you know, sometimes we get involved in athletics or academics and we forget about what's happening, you know, outside of that. And I think everybody is, you don't have to look too far to see someone whose life has been touched, you know, by cancer. And it's a great awareness and great prevention, and we're really excited about the program.
Well, Ed, congratulations. Your work touches basically every kid that attends school in the state of Oklahoma, and we probably don't say thank you enough, so thank you to you and your staff.
Yes, again, thank you.
Thank you, and again, appreciate this opportunity.
All right, Ed Sheakley with the Oklahoma Secondary Schools Activities Association. We'll give some website information when we get back on how you can communicate with that association. And Kent and I'll have a final word when we return.
Good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauty is matched with an eye for aesthetics. A legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. A place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens, to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. Developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. Loyal to you.
All children deserve a life of hope and love. but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
You will always be Mom and Dad to me.
I really think people are so unaware of the number of kids waiting just in Oklahoma. And I think if more people knew that those children were out there waiting, I think that just by the way we live our lives and the people we talk to, that maybe we can help encourage adoption from Oklahoma.
You will always be Mom and Dad to me.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information.
And for almost 30 years, Oklahoma political, government, and business leaders have turned to the McCarville Report for accurate, reliable, inside information. Visit the McCarville Report online. Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett and Kent Myers wrapping up the show where we learn more about the Oklahoma Secondary Schools Activities Association.
Yes, I had some misunderstandings about what it was prior to getting this show ready to air, and Mark Grossman, a partner of mine, helped me out in getting the information straight. They do a fine, even-handed job of regulating a very difficult topic where emotions run high and views are strongly held.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine, conducting championships for hundreds of schools in all those different classes all over the state. So you've got geographic issues, you've got size of the schools issues, and then you got all those different sports, and to try and put your arms around that and get a handle on it and conduct it safely and honestly, it's just a monumental task, and I just can't imagine having to create an organization like that. We're grateful for them.
Indeed.
All right. Well, we got some website information. You can learn more about the OSSAA if you go to their website, and predictably, their website address is theossaa.com. We've also got a website. If you've got an idea for a show or a guest you'd like to see on an upcoming edition of The Verdict, you can go on our website and let us know about it. That website is theverdict.tv. That's going to do it for this week's show. For Kent Myers, I'm Mick Cornett. We'll see you next week, right here on The Verdict.